The thesis behind it is that woke, which seems to be a synonym, I think, for politically correct or a way of describing people who you feel strain too hard to be right on and to be fans of equality. You see them, I think you see them, and it's never quite clear how far into your cheek your tongue is when you're talking about things like vegan sausage rolls, but you do see them as a genuine threat. I wonder what they're a threat
I see it
to.
as a genuine threat to freedom of speech, because I think that there's a...
You're calling for them to be quiet.
Well, look, first of all, by the original definition of woke,
Yes.
I would happily sign up to being woke. If woke means just being aware to social and racial injustice, then I'm woke. That's not a problem. But that's not what the modern version of woke has become. It's become a very destructive, quite self-harming sort of feeding frenzy based around this cancel culture. And I know you don't really buy into that, but I see it all the time where people are getting more and more cowed about feeling they just can't express an opinion or have a haircut or wear certain culturally inappropriate outfits or, laugh at a certain...
But are they really?
Whatever it may be. And
Yeah.
I feel it's self-harming. I don't feel that taking things to that degree brings anybody with you. And if you want to win an argument, you've got to bring people with you.
But the argument for me, and trans is an exception to this observation, because I think that trans issues are very confusing and people scream at each other with a fury of certainty that I can't achieve anything like that level.
Do you think that applies to everything?
No, I really don't. I think trans is very much the exception, and in fact, it's people who are possessed of really toxic and dangerous views regarding race or religion or ethnicity or sexuality. I think they're desperate for trans to be front and center, because then they can claim there's a culture war. But actually, a lot of your arguments work in the context of trans. They don't work in the context of racism or religious bigotry.
Well, they do if you start making a mockery.
Well, that's what I'm
coming
to.
Issue.
Yes, but that's what I don't get, because all I know of these great battles are what I'm told by media outlets that are literally primed to infuriate and enrage me. And I
followed you on that. And what I would say to you is, you think that they're sort of conflated, they're concocted, they're created by the media, but it wasn't the media that said, for example, that Rule Britannia should be chopped from the Proms. It was actually, the catalyst was not the media. It got brought to the media's attention, and the media then had a lot of, hey, while the sun shone. But I do think it's chicken and the egg, isn't it? There's always something there that starts the...
Okay, so name 3 people who, in the public eye, who passionately believe that we shouldn't have sung Land of Hope and Glory at the... And remember, it's an audience sing-along at an event with no audience.
No, sure. Doesn't need to be 3. It just needs to be the person in charge of the production.
Well, no, you're talking about an army of wokies, and I can't think of one person who passionately believed it shouldn't happen.
This person had the power to decide it wasn't going to be a big part of the Proms, and then that became a catalyst.
But there was no audience, Piers.
But here's the point I would make to you.
An audience sing-along at an event with no audience.
Then bring somebody in and sing it. You could do that.
Yes.
I would definitely not in the current...
And you can't name anyone who was passionately opposed to it being sung.
I don't remember her name, the woman who was in charge of the Proms. That was the point.
Right.
And look, you might think it's trivial, but I can tell you, the moment people heard that a quite woke person in charge of the Proms had decided we weren't going to be able to sing Rule Britannia, all hell broke loose. But more importantly...
Well, of course it did. That's what I mean by
more importantly for the left and for the wokies, what did it actually achieve? In the end, they do a U-turn, as everybody knew they would. So they don't win. They just have a completely futile war, which is guaranteed to ensure they don't get what they want to get. When was the woke candidate in an election who won? Anything.
I'm still not entirely sure what you mean by woke, and we can hopefully we can use myself as an example on this. But for me, the fact that there was no audience there simply meant that they were changing the way that the event unfolded. The Times, I think, or the Sunday Times got hold of it, turned it into a story. And the number of stories you see now about Black Lives Matter are responsible for this review, there's no such thing. Can you name someone who is what you could call a member of Black Lives Matter? And yet every story I read about Nelson being reassessed or statues being protected. I just don't know who these people are. And I sit in newsrooms, and I'm sure you still do too, and I hear people desperately ringing around to try to find someone to represent what you describe as an army. If there's so many of them, why are they so hard to find?
I don't think you need to find anybody. When you have to board up Winston Churchill, Gandhi and Mandela statues in Parliament Square.
But they did that during the Countryside Alliance March.
Of course. I'm not, listen.
Are they woke?
The right wing can behave far worse than the left wing.
They're right wing. They're just country people. They're just pointing out when there's a big event. They probably boarded up those statues when you were having your big anti-Iraq war march.
Yes. Listen, I am not saying that everyone's not culpable. I'm not saying I'm not culpable or part of this frenzy and noise. But what I am saying is the illiberal liberal element of wokedom has got completely out of hand. You might not accept it, but go out and ask people, are you sick and tired of this stuff? And they'll tell you they are.